This is Gemstones and Whiskey, an Outlander podcast. I'm Ashley Alexandra.
And I'm Reena Ezra.
And this is Season 2, Episode 2, Not in Scotland Anymore.
So we're playing it after the opening credits. Woo! And this is already getting hot in here. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Claire and Jamie getting steamy. Like, literally
just looking at her.
So if you can't tell, they're having an intimate moment. And it seems like they're both having a grand old time. Like, in a bed. How nice for them to be in, like, a nice bed.
Not in
enjoying
a
each other.
Oh my god!
Ruined by
my god!
Black Randall. No. So
this turns into a horrific thing! Oh my god! So now Jamie is profusely stabbing Jack Randall in a bed and they're covered in blood.
Okay, so Jamie, they were having a great time. Jamie all of a sudden looks down and instead of seeing Claire, sees Jack Randall. And, Jack Randall? Right? Do people call him Jack? No, John. Jonathan Randall. Right? Jonathan Wolverton Randall. Anyway.
Or we can call him whatever we want.
Yeah, stabs him a whole bunch and gets all bloody.
Yeah.
And then we realize
Creep Man.
He was having a nightmare.
It was just a nightmare. It was just a nightmare.
He's all like sweaty and panicked and Claire's like, oh my god, are you okay?
That's the worst when you have a nightmare or just constant thoughts streaming in your head and you wake up more tired than when you went to sleep. You know, I've had dreams where I felt exhausted when I got up.
That's like most of my life. Because I feel like no, but not like where it's so terrible. I feel like I've mentioned this on the podcast before, so sorry for repeating myself, but I'm always working on something in my dream. Like, I'm trying to accomplish something, so I'm always busy. So it's rare that I wake up being like, oh,
well rested.
What relaxing dream. Like, I'm just always working on something. So anyway, Jamie is like, hey, I'm going to go step out and just, like, chill away from you and the bed for a little bit.
And correction, I feel like last episode I said it was 1774, which is wrong, because this year is 1744. So we're in 1744, because I was thinking, I'm like, when did they sign the Declaration of Independence? So like, 1776. I'm like, I think I'm jumping a little too forward in time.
So here's Claire in her first fabulous French fashion outfit. She's got a hat. She's got gloves. There's silk involved. She has earrings on.
Yeah, look at this top button down where it looks like it's a coat, but then it's actually draped over your bottom skirt.
Yeah.
And it's just such an interesting combination. Where it's just like woman out on the town, but like she also looks like professional and business.
And this is so different for them. You can see, essentially, this scene is just her, like, walking from the bedroom down to a carriage that is waiting for her. Night and day, they're literally in this place with staff. Claire was, like, speaking with one of the, like, housemaids, essentially, and was, like, because the housemaid was like, please stop making your bed. Like, I'm supposed to make your bed. And she's like, well, I can't let you just make my bed. Like, I don't like that. And she's like, if you want, you can redo it. And the maid was like, thank you. So it's interesting to see, like, they're not used to being waited on hand and foot. What a beautiful carriage. So Claire's now riding through 1700s France.
Living the life of luxury.
Like this is a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, and also, this is a movie you want to be in.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is a very quaint,
God. Like, I'm someone who, I loved, like, history when I was in school, and, like, I've for sure been the person who's, like, fantasized about, like, seeing places at different times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So imagine getting to literally experience it, not a recreation of it. Like, you are.
She's actually there.
It.
Yeah, you're actually, everything you're seeing is happening for the first time. All of this, she's in the OG of, like, when so many things were cultivated at that time. Also, this is, I think, the first official time, like, where Claire is running her own households.
Yes.
And where is she now is an apothecary.
Yep, with a big alligator, stuffed alligator.
Yeah, again, like, look at this shop. Look at how
I want
the design.
A room that looks like that.
Look at these colors.
I'm obsessed. It's just drama, and I love it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm obsessed with the sets and, like, decoration in Paris. It's my absolute favorite thing.
This is probably my favorite season as far as costume and set goes.
Agreed.
Yeah. And we now meet Mr.
Raymond.
Yeah.
Raymond.
This is our first interaction with the fella.
So he is clearly a, like, mystical character person. He's calling her Madonna, which is funny. And she's asking him some questions about, you know, what is it that you have here? So it's interesting. I think they're, like, kind of feeling each other out, right? And I think he recognizes that she's not just, like, any other person who comes in here. She kind of knows what she's talking about. She's asking interesting questions.
Yeah, what are you looking for, Claire? What does she need to use from an apothecary? And Nepeta? Is that what it was?
I missed exactly what it was, but it's something, essentially she's asking for something that'll help with sleep. And she says it's for her husband, Jamie.
Because his nightmares, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just give you some of this marijuana. This will help him sleep. I don't know if I don't think this guy had any.
Oh, it's, Valeria. Or Valerian something. That is actually a thing that's still in a lot of, like, if you look on, like, sleepy time tea and stuff. That's a powerful, like, sedative, I think.
Yeah, no, it
like, natural sedative.
Yeah.
This place just looks so cool.
It does.
Oh, gosh. Deep down, I just want to be a witch.
You can be whatever you set your mind to.
This is going to be real bad if, like, the witch hunt trials ever come back. They're going to be like...
don't you think we're past that?
I heard...
Are we ever past it?
I heard Goody Ashley on the podcast say she wanted to be a witch. Okay.
Oh no, now we have a whole crowd of people outside with pitchforks and knives.
Yeah.
Because you admitted that. Great, Ashley. Great.
So he essentially is like, hey, by the way, I heard from Comte Saint-Germain that you had his ship burned because you made a whole big stink about smallpox.
Also, it's not that big of a village. Word travels fast.
Right.
So people immediately know who she is now.
Well, and she's like, oh, you're
she's
friends with him, huh? Which is interesting to know. And he's like, well, you know, he comes here and he buys stuff from me.
Yeah, well, that's what they have to do. Jamie and her have to start making, you know, friends with the locals. They gotta get on people's good side.
Well, and so now it kind of seems like it's safe to identify him as someone who might hear things, right? It's the same as, like, a doctor, I guess, where, like, you know people's personal stuff. Like, if people are coming in because they're looking for X, Y, and Z, it's a lot of, like, gossip or personal information.
It's like a bartender. Also, when people just disclose more stuff for you and, like, you're that guy who knows all this about everybody else.
So he would definitely be a good person to call upon. This is a great scene. I love this so much. it's Murtaugh and Jamie in, like, the beautiful fields of
this
Paris.
courtyard. Like, yeah, where this whole entire...
Murtaugh's essentially like, listen, we gotta get your strength up in your hand. So, like, that's the whole point of this. And I think what's really interesting, Murtaugh looks really good.
He does.
His skin cleared up. That little trip did... The salt water did really well.
Yeah.
And he looks good. He's like France on top, Scotland on the bottom.
Yeah, he could.
And it's really working for me. I think he looks really good. His little ponytail.
Yeah, it's a good mix of fashion he has.
I think it's interesting to, like, look at everyone else standing there. No one has beards. Everyone's wearing pants, right? Like,
everyone's more polished and cleaner. And also, everyone is not so aggressive like the Scots. Once again, they're more polite, or they do things behind people's back. And composed. The way they talk, the way they conduct themselves is very different than this, ragtag bunch.
Yeah. And, a lot of them, again, are wearing wigs. Jamie is not. So, like, Jamie's assimilated a little bit more. Not. Like, he has pants on and,
Could you imagine him with one of those ugly wigs? He has such great hair. Why would he need to wear a wig?
Well, I think we do get to see him in a wig later on.
No, but I'm saying
he looks kind of good.
If he wore that all the time.
No,
because I love how he grew his hair out.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
I like, imagine if Jamie, well, I mean, he would still look good. Never mind, that was going to be a silly thing I was going to say. Which is, like, imagine if he just had, like blonde hair. He wouldn't be as...
The actual actor.
I know, it's more blonde. And I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
You kind of just look like a regular good-looking guy. The red hair is, like, you're unique. You know, it adds a little... little bit of spice.
More like,
Sorry,
you look more like fire. Like, you're just...
you're literally more like fire.
You're definitely just way more intoxicating.
I like
spicier.
A ginger. I'm down.
They're a rare breed.
Down with red hair.
I don't know if that's rare.
Red beards. No, I think they are rare.
Or you get the men, or you have the men that have, like, when they grow beards, they have different...
That's my boyfriend.
Colored patches.
Yeah. Oh, well, no. Well, Henry's beard is red.
Full on everywhere?
Yeah.
It's like Jordan's,
and, like, all different colors of red.
Parts
it's
of
so
it's,
cool.
like, brown. Parts of it's blonde.
Yeah.
Parts of it's red.
It's so cool. Sometimes I just like looking at all the different colors.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and I'm
also,
like, I'm like, well... I wasn't staring at you while you were singing.
You're frozen deer in headlights.
Except I was.
Or, like, when you're, like, walking in a park and then chipmunk just notices you and it's like,
yeah.
And then it's just like, yeah. Anyway, that was a weird example for me to say. But also, I do love when people have, like, their, when you're out in the sun.
Yes.
And the highlights naturally that people get from their hair,
obsessed.
The facial hair, yeah.
My niece has the best natural highlights. Like, I literally want to bring her to the hair salon and be like, recreate this.
That's nice. That's good genes. She lucky.
Yeah. Claire. Okay,
another
this outfit is really,
God.
like, if I could go back in time, I would wear that. It's, like, got this chain detailing. Her boobs are out
and
looking great.
The white puff sleeves.
Dramatic sleeves.
Mm-hmm. Her jewelry too. Her jewelry matching with each outfit is definitely a step up.
I'm obsessed with this. It's, like, powerful.
And also how her hair, when it's braided and then wrapped around and put into a... So amazing.
Very pretty.
So they're reading a letter that will be of help to them?
Yeah, so essentially they've been invited to meet with, well, sorry, not they. Jamie has been invited, and Murtaugh's going along, to meet with the Bonnie Prince at a brothel.
Yay!
Because that is where all the men
this is the one I
do
run.
their business. Yes! And this is where we meet Reena.
Yeah. Super cool. Also, the brothel does...
You would be such, like, I know I've said it before, but, like, you really would be the perfect madam. Because, like, you would run that, like, the tightest ship possible, right? But you'd also, like, make everyone feel welcome.
Oh, yeah. I love being a good host.
Feel special.
It would definitely be, like, it would have to be super clean. Sometimes
yes.
I feel like in brothels,
nothing but the best at Reena's brothel.
Yeah, no, it's got to be, like, the
Madam
nicest carpets and rugs.
Yes.
And candle.
You would invent the Hoover, I think.
No.
Right? Hoover is a vacuum. Right?
Not
just the dam. Aren't they also a vacuum? Am I wrong?
No. It is.
I'm like, stop. Tell me.
No, let me check. I know. Right. Well, yeah, because Dyson didn't exist back then.
Right. That's why I went with Hoover. It's the oldest vacuum I know.
Is that the oldest? Like Hoover, yes, is a vacuum.
Okay.
But what is?
Talk about outfits. Come on.
Vacuum.
Love this. I will say this is like, this is a pretty great brothel. They're like putting on actual shows. Like, this is like the original sketch show. Really, is what I think.
Yeah.
Brothels really started it all. I think. There's the Bonnie Prince looking like he's not working with a full deck.
This guy's so
they're
scrawny.
displaying giant
dildos.
Yeah,
basically.
You said it.
Which also they're made at like, what is that material?
Wood?
One of it looks like wood, and one of it looks like not a bronze. I
don't know.
Copper. One looked like it was made out of copper.
I don't know about that.
They're also, those are huge.
Yeah, no, they're giant.
They look uncomfortable.
God, look at that dress.
Yeah.
I'm
very
obsessed.
fancy. All these women, very fancy. And his orange jacket too. There's so much more vibrance out and color here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they get to just drink so much wine. That's the thing. We're drinking so much wine. Drink so much wine in Scotland. We're drinking even more wine in France.
All right. So, Charlie, Bonnie Prince Charlie. Sorry, we should probably explain it. I don't know if we've actually talked about the Jacobite Rising. Essentially, we've touched upon it a little bit in season 1. Essentially, it's Highlanders. As well as other people who support a Scottish rebellion against the British, to essentially put to the Scottish. It's very important that it be someone with Scottish lineage, which Bonnie Prince Charlie does fit that bill. He's like 1/16 Scottish, or something like that.
It's good enough.
But he's also a mix of some other things, which appeals to French.
Yes.
And they want to essentially champion him as the rightful heir to the throne, which was taken from them.
Yeah.
So there are these pockets of people who support the idea of the rebellion, and they provide financial support and whatever else. So essentially funds are being collected for this movement, and they're keeping the Bonnie Prince in France kind of so he could be at the ready for when they have enough funds and they can move into Scotland and essentially start their uprising.
Right.
So the idea here is for Jamie to kind of weasel his way in with Bonnie Prince Charlie and the people who are funding this rebellion and see if he can intercept important messages, money, things like that, and cause the efforts to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
The other idea is perhaps, and this is something that gets tossed around multiple times this season, is perhaps just killing him. Murtaugh is a big fan of that idea.
Yep.
Of being like, how about instead of all this work, we just kill the guy,
It's
and
an
then
option.
there's no one for them to put in the place, and then it just all falls. But of course, Claire and Jamie are like, no, let's try this other complicated way first.
They try to be civil before they need to be barbaric.
So
they
essentially,
try to avoid killing.
Yeah. So this is the first meeting between Jamie and the Bonnie Prince, and Jamie's collecting all this information about where they're at, and it does seem like they're a bit further along in terms of the funding that they have than they originally thought, which means that the timeline is sped up. They have less time, and it's a little more, I guess, concerning that wheels might start turning sooner rather than later.
Yeah, time is definitely of the essence.
Yeah,
when
which
is it
I
not?
don't think
feel
they
like
realized. In the beginning, it seemed like
they had more time to cultivate put together a well thought out plan, take the right steps to do something, properly and efficiently. Because I mean, regaining the British throne is just heavy. It's a heavy duty job.
Yes.
And you have a lot of variables. You have a lot of other people. Same thing, right? They're coming into France, like we said, this theme in Scotland. Who can you trust? And you're coming into France with a new group of people. Who can you trust? Who's going to work with you? Who's going to make things difficult for you? How can you get what you want? There's going to be a lot of politics and negotiations. And they kind of have to play the game a little bit differently, too, because they're it's not native land to them.
Right.
And
they don't have as much clout.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so the Bonnie Prince is like, essentially he goes on this whole rant about how he has the divine right, and like he's the chosen person, and he's the right person for this job. And I just have to say, upon first looking at him, I would not at all put my trust in him.
Yeah.
Follow him. Believe in his abilities to, like, do most things.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When I saw him, he looked like just, like, a scrawny dude who's, like, I'm like, what is your deal? He seems all over the place.
Yes. And he, you know how some people just, like, their natural coloring, you just want to be like, are you feeling okay? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just something that, like, unwell? Yes. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I wouldn't be like, yes, I will go into a rebellion for you to be my king. Is all
like, you would do that for somebody who looks like Jamie.
100%.
Right? You're like, oh, wow, yeah, look at you all put together.
Front lines, a sacrifice.
No question about it.
For the greater good. No, kidding.
Yeah, cut my hand, spit on it, and we'll shake hands, or whatever.
Do you think you're the type that would be involved in a rebellion? Like, just generally speaking, like the idea of going against
the most I've done in my own real life are protests. Mm-hmm. For Black Lives Matter, that's just a very recent and ongoing example. It's I definitely do not shy away from that. When you can be very powerful when you get a group of people together who share the same ideology. Absolutely. And have a lot of hope and a lot of adrenaline, basically, to just to shout and to cause a ruckus and make noise and trying to change things for the better and have people pay attention to you. I definitely, wouldn't be, I like when things are organized. not being immature and, like, rash about it. I personally would not get myself, as far as, like, a revolution, no, I wouldn't put myself in, if it gets, like, dangerous and, like, I'm in harm's way. But also, like, coming from a family who's fought against, you know, the Iranian regime and people who have been, I know family members who aren't sheep, who do question authority and who do rebel. Yeah. Or did rebel. So yeah, I'd like to think there's a bit of that fire inside me too, where I'm just like, yeah, no, you have to stand up for your rights and your freedom because nobody else will.
You gotta fight for your right. Sorry. I forgot that party was the, okay, this is...
I love this one.
All right. So we are watching a woman in the 1700s get her legs whacked. Waxed. Not whacked. Sorry.
Not whacked. Waxed.
Waxed. Which didn't know that occurred. So, or I don't know what the origins are.
Of waxing?
Waxing and sugaring. Or like body hair removal, I guess. I didn't think was happening that early on. But again, this is like French elite, so they were always...
Yeah, and obviously wax existed back then.
Yeah. Very interesting. Which
is like, she doesn't even look like she has any hair on her legs.
Right.
Like, what are you even waxing?
Yeah. I forget what her name is. Essentially, they're like, she's like a socialite, I guess. And... Here comes, her name is Mary. I do know that.
I will give you the official name.
Okay.
In 3, 2, let me see.
So essentially we're meeting two new women here. One is a socialite who is married to someone, married to a man who's somewhat important in, like, the French social circle, I think politics as well. And they have this younger girl staying with them. She's, I think, about like 14, Mary Hawkins. It's like a favor to the girl's uncle. And she looks very intimidated. Gosh, could you imagine like living through puberty in 1700s Paris?
No.
Like, that's...
I don't like the idea in general that back then people would wed very, very young. People would procreate or go in bed with someone. You know what I'm saying? Like, British royal history where you had, like, oh, you know, this one wed this one. How old were they? 12. Like, they're very, very young because you're just thinking, like, oh, somebody who is next in line to the throne and you have to take over and now we have to teach you the ways and blah, 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 blah. But everything, obviously, the life expectancy was not long. That's the whole thing too. Longevity, you were not living, you died in your 20s, you died in your 30s. If you lived in your 40s, that's a long, healthy life. Nobody was living in, you know, to 80s, 90s, 101, 102. I mean, not many. But yeah, I would not like it. The fact that I'd have to be with, like, usually it's also like an older man and you're just a much younger girl. Yeah, that would make me so uncomfortable.
That's a situation here with Mary. Essentially, she's been sent to stay here and meet this man who, I don't know if she's already been, like, agreed to marry or if this is, like, the initial stages of him meeting her and deciding if he wants to go through with it. I think but he's like stages, an older man. We'll get to that in a little bit. What's her name? I can't remember.
I'm still trying to find her.
Sorry.
That's okay.
She's fabulous. She is getting more things waxed. Poor little Mary Hawkins is horrified. Yeah.
I didn't think it'd take this long.
But also what I think is interesting is this is also new to Claire as well. I'm assuming 1940s, I don't think they were necessarily removing hair And if they were, I don't think it was from...
Well, they had waxing back then. Razors already existed.
Yeah, but were they...
For shaving...
So,
it depends. It's like the same where she's like an aristocrat, this woman.
Yeah.
And very wealthy and like, yeah, I think it's the same thing in the 40s. Where it's
well,
like
I just mean Claire herself, I don't think would have been shaving her legs or removing hair anywhere else for that matter.
No, yeah, she seems more natural. I guess. I don't know. Also, Claire doesn't have she doesn't really have a lot of dark hair on her body, so I don't think she needs to worry about that.
Well, she did. She's introducing Jamie to very smooth nether regions. And
I love his face.
He is like,
Claire, what have you done to yourself?
Also, he calls it her honey pot, which I kind of like it.
Isn't that adorable?
And he's like, what did you do to it?
Is there a honey pot? It is. It's just very smooth.
I think it's oh my god. Also, like, this is why we all love Jamie. He literally was like, to rid yourself of such a beautiful forest, why would you do that?
Of course. Those are the words he uses.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cute. Like, they're in bed with each other. They're in France with each other.
And they're trying to reconnect. I mean, Jamie's having a lot of these issues.
It doesn't seem like he's having a problem now.
Yeah, he's, taking a look. And that is really funny. She's like, what do you think? And he's like, I think it looks more complicated than when it's thatched over. Oh, gosh.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm definitely going to find who this
another example of why Jamie is great is she's like, do you like it? And he was like, you're a daring woman. So he made it not about that. He just made it about, her character.
Yeah.
Because he's great.
Oh, is it Luis de
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're better with the pronunciation.
No, I'm not. No, I really don't. Yeah, Luis.
Oh, no, wait. Is that the actress's name?
Okay.
So the character...
I'm like, sure. No, that might be right.
No, that's it. Yeah,
Louisa?
that's the character's name. She is actually a French-Russian actress, Claire Sermon.
Very cool.
But it's, it's definitely not Louis, but it's Luis de Rohan. Yep. There you go.
So they were having a lovely connection moment, and then, Jamie had some memories. And Claire said, all right, let's just go to sleep instead. And he seems a little frightened.
He's trying, though.
I know. Really they're both trying.
We're both, being vulnerable with each other again and, opening up and trying to be intimate and romantic. And sometimes you can just, you just need to, lay next to the person. Next to your partner and just be there. Sometimes you can't. That was, I don't know. I feel like that was, a really important moment.
Yes.
For them trying to, connect in that way again, but then also still working through things.
They are getting ready to go to Versailles.
Yeah, look at this dress.
Okay, I have a confession.
Yes.
I don't like it.
I don't like the shape of the skirt. I'll tell you that. I like the V-neck. I actually like the top, the cut, and the sleeves. I love when it's red and her earrings.
I love red.
We're making a bold
statement.
Love
the earrings.
The skirts are just hella intense.
They're very
the
intense.
Skirts are just very,
And I just also feel like, now I obviously do not know the ins and outs of 1700s French fashion, but I feel like the neckline is so different than anything else
yeah.
that I'm just like, it kind of stands out as like, I don't know, very, very different. And
Jamie also seems to, he's like, he wasn't sure about it because he's just like, obviously her cleavage is more exposed, and he's just like, you don't need to go out dressed like this.
Yeah, he's a little possessive.
Yeah.
She's like, don't worry, I have this fan to hold. And he's like, you're gonna need a bigger fan.
I do love the men, though. Look at Jamie was wearing like a suede
Jamie looks good. I think that was velvet. That was a velvet coat. Crushed velvet.
So nice.
I mean, love it.
So fashionable.
Look at Versailles.
So chic.
How, can you imagine, like, really being there?
Do you know they actually changed the, where Versace was, it's just making me think of Versace, but, where he was killed in the steps in front of his place. Do you know they just converted House of Versace to a restaurant?
Oh.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. It was where his home was, and he died in those steps apparently it's like hard.
I mean, I guess doing anything is just weird.
But you could have made it a museum and preserved certain things, but you flip it and make it a restaurant.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Sorry, Versace. It just made me think of that.
I think there's some, like, grounds in Scotland that they used as Versailles and then used, like, other CGI stuff.
Got you. Cool.
Wow, so a beautiful woman runs up to Jamie, gives him a double kiss.
Hey, we're in France.
And Claire's like, oh.
Claire immediately gets possessive too, though, and also jealous.
It's interesting, in here, she looks her age for the first time. Like, she looks a little older and, like, much more mature.
Yes.
Which I think is interesting. Maybe because her hair's pulled back like that. Because it really wasn't pulled back season 1. It was always down.
Yeah. Yep. That's
like,
exactly
she looks like an older woman.
Also, she was not wearing makeup in season 1.
Right. You're right.
Out and about in the Scottish villages, and you're definitely a little dirtier and rougher in the terrain and like all that stuff. You're not polished. When you come to France, you're wearing makeup. Makeup ages somebody. Like, it makes you look older. Also, she's wearing red lipstick.
You're right.
And you're saying, with her hair. Jamie also he just looks younger.
Yeah.
I feel like he looked older and also when he had facial hair.
Because he looks like leaner, I guess, in the costumes themselves. So like there's something, I don't know, maybe it's like highlighting like the angles of his jaw and stuff so he looks a little younger. Yeah. I don't know.
But you're right, they're more definitely the difference in their age. I feel like you can see more in this the start of this season.
Okay, sorry, that actress is beautiful, but she also has like vampire teeth. Did you see? She has very pointy teeth. Not this one, the other one.
Canines?
Yeah, Louisa, that one.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
She reminds me of like Kirsten Dunst in
Vampire,
like the dimples, but then also like vampire teeth.
You're absolutely right.
So anyway, this is like an old friend of Jamie's from when he was like sent to France for like school or something.
So he has been to France before, I forgot.
Yes. Also, he was there for a war as well. Different war than Claire.
Right. Duh.
But yeah. Wow, Claire's got great cleavage. That dress is really... Okay, this dress or wedding dress?
I would choose wedding dress.
Me too. Like, every time.
It's just...
Love that wedding dress.
It was just, like, it just looked really good on her. It fit all the right places. Also, like, the softer color tones.
Yes.
Just more pleasing in the eye.
So I guess this was a thing where people would
ridiculous.
Just watch the king go to the bathroom.
His toilet is also a throne. Like, he's sitting on a throne. That's why people
call
chair.
it the throne.
Yeah.
The ivory throne.
There you go. And he's trying to take a shit.
And he can't. We've all been there.
Yeah. He needs some prunes.
A little backed up. You need some protein, some fiber. Not protein, fiber is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Somebody get him a energy bar.
Wow, that might be the last time I want anyone looking at me.
On the toilet?
Constipated on the toilet. When you're, like, praying to God.
Everybody goes on the toilet, though, right? Everyone's status, if you think of, like, any person of power and then imagine them on the toilet.
Totally. But I just mean, like, specifically, like, constipated. Being like, my legs are asleep. This is too long, and please make it end. And
it's terrible.
People are just looking at you, living in that moment. No.
Yeah, I don't get what.
No, you're like sweating. It's the like faces you make. No, nobody needs to see that. He's
like asking people for advice, like what to do for his suffering, for his problems right now. Like,
Jamie's like, Your Majesty, I have a suggestion, if you please. Some porridge.
Every morning.
The king's like, did you just tell me to eat porridge?
Is it porridge or
porridge?
Oh, that's how he pronounced. Look, I even this. So I was just like, what is he saying?
He's like, I'm sorry. What am I? One of the 3 little bears?
Yeah, he's like immediately. There's a riff because the Frenchman doesn't want to eat or considers what they eat in the Highlands of Scotland is peasant food.
Well, not just Frenchmen, but the king, you know?
Well, anybody who's not in Scotland, they always look down at the Scots.
Yeah.
Wow. And there's a party going on. There's like an entire party going on while he's in the next
stuck
room
upstairs. I've been there too.
I hate that.
Constipated at a party. It's nothing worse. Because you're like, I'm missing out on fun and this is torturous.
FOMO, severe FOMO on the toilet. And then, of course, these group of ladies gossip.
Yep.
People did not really... well, I can't say that people didn't do it in Scotland, but I'm saying Claire is now in the circle of women who are all, running their own households, who are all higher in status and chit-chat about...
Yes, and also I think...
this and that, and that's not Claire's forte.
The villages of Scotland, yes, of course, would talk on the down low. In the city of Paris, I mean, it's an activity that you do, like standing around and gossiping, like that is a large percentage of your day is set aside specifically for that. So now here we are at the party and we see Mary Hawkins speaking with what seems to be a very handsome young gentleman, and like, good for Mary, you go girl. Oh, Claire found a bigger fan, so that's good. Jamie got that for her. And who do we see here?
Monsieur Duvernay.
Yes. So I've always been slightly confused as to who he is and why he matters. He's a political figure of some kind. Yeah. I think he's involved or has access or knowledge about the funds for the uprising. And so they came to this party specifically to find and speak with Monsieur Duvernay. Again, I think to figure out how much money do they actually have for the uprising at this current moment, and like what other information they can find out from him to try and mess up the plan.
So why did this woman, Louise de Rohan, tell, like, as if Claire was looking for Duvernay, like that guy, like,
because she was
saying she was, but not like that. She made it seem like it was like she fancied him and like had the hots for him. You know what I'm saying? Like when
maybe
she was
to entice him to go.
It certainly did. Oh my god, it was just immediately like that's definitely something that doesn't change in this show. You're still having men want to grope women or like look at them as a piece of candy.
Yep, and so he found her. And now they're having a very awkward interaction where he's coming on real strong. She's like, "Hey, I was just taking a seat because my feet hurt." Wow. Okay.
She's like, "Oh, my husband," and he's
like,
getting
down on his knees in front of her, and is looking at her feet and kissing them. It. Wow. Okay, I never really understood this whole
kissing feet.
Well, or the Frenchman. Yes, in real life, foot fetishes. You know what it is? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, and there's Jamie.
Jamie literally pushes him over a ledge into a body of water. Because, he's very possessive.
Yeah, and they didn't know this is the guy that they need to talk to.
There he is without a wig. His wig has fallen off. Wow, look how pretty that, framing is right there.
Oh, they have, the garland with the flowers and hanging and everything.
And a little bit of the chandelier.
It's so pretty.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that wig looks terrible. I wonder what they used for wigs back then. Animal fur, you think? Or something?
For some of them, probably, yeah.
I don't know. Do you think they would have used human hair? Oh, yes, because in Les Mis, they cut...
yeah. They cut I feel like it was probably both. Depending on the wig. Yeah, so he's talking.
He was like, "Please don't let my wife know."
Oh, that was his wife he was talking about. Okay.
Yeah, because clearly he just gets into trouble all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure Claire's not the only woman he comes on to like that.
Yeah. And he's like, "How could I ever repay you?" And they're like, "Just your friendship is fine."
Ooh, are we about to play chess?
Yes. So he asked if Jamie is a fan of chess, and Jamie's like, Murtaugh's like, he's a master at it. Of course, what is he not a master at? Obviously. And here comes a woman with her boobs completely out of her dress. Literally.
Yeah, no, she's just got...
out of her dress.
Pasties? I don't
know. No, they're not. Pasties. Those are her nipples. And
what is around her nipples, though? Those are pierced in there.
Snake situation?
Look at Murtaugh's face.
Murtaugh finally fell in love with France. He's like, now I understand why we're here.
All the boobs you can imagine.
Murtaugh's like, that's the first time we've ever seen a genuine smile from Murtaugh.
Yeah, he's usually so serious. Yeah, that's just so weird that her boobs are just totally out like that.
So, she's the special guest of the king. So I guess if anyone could have her nipples out for a party, it would be her.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I might sneeze. Sorry, everyone. Hold on.
Bless you.
Thank you. For the record, I did cover my sneeze. Because that's the appropriate thing to do.
Yeah, I'm a witness.
His wig looks terrible. He looks like roadkill.
Looks like, I was going to say, it looks like a dead raccoon.
Wow. Okay.
And the king also, when he was looking at Claire, he's definitely... I feel like when anybody looks at Claire, they stop for a second. They're like, what is this exotic piece of whatever?
Yes. And there are definitely people in the world that just have something. I think it's a mixture of yes, how they look, how they carry themselves, what their aura is. And look who we have here.
Yeah, we did not think we were going to see him.
It's the Duke of Sandringham.
Yes.
Sandringham.
Yep.
The Duke of Sandringham. Yeah, so this is, this is
he's the one that took or tried to was it trying to intercept or took the letter that for Jamie to get his freedom is just to
Duke of Sandringham is the one who is friends with Blackjack Randall.
Mm-hmm.
He is funding the rebellion as well. He kind of plays both sides at all times.
Oh, he's such a double
agent.
And
he is the one that Jamie was hoping would give a pardon.
Yes.
So that he could have the price taken off his head. And he never really did that.
And he escaped, when they were about to have that duel. Yeah.
Duel.
And then he's just like, oh, it's not my fault, whatever. They said I had to give it to Randall, and then damn that Randall, he took it, and then, blah, 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 blah. So, he's now still, like, trying to be on their good side because,
he's always working both sides.
Oh yeah, for sure. But he is useful. He does have information. He does know things. It's just the.
But he somehow always has.
He's just
the upper hand is the problem, and he really does not have allegiance to anyone except himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he, I think, is deep down pretty nasty himself.
Well, yeah, Claire definitely doesn't trust him. I don't think Murtaugh or Jamie really trust him either. But, I don't know. They're just taking steps towards... They're still trying to just follow through with their plan. And or build it, make alliances.
Right, and he's seeing that, like, very clearly. And he's essentially like, I see what you're doing. He's like, so, like, you ran away from Scotland, huh? Why? Did bad things happen there? Because obviously he knows about the price on Jamie's head, and right. I'm sure he knows, to some extent, maybe what happened with Blackjack Randall. And here he is, he and Claire get into some really biting conversations. Mm-hmm. Like, they are low-key nasty. So the same cute boy who's talking to Mary Hawkins now comes over. And he seems to work for the Duke. And he is sneezing and coughing, and she's like, Claire's like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, it's chronic. So Claire, of course, suggests a fix for that. She mentions Mary, and he, like, lights up. Clearly, he's, like, fancies her. And the Duke steps in and says, oh, wait a second. I forgot my manners. This is Alexander Randall, my new secretary.
Randall?
Yes, and he says the name is not a coincidence. This is a younger brother of Captain Jonathan Randall.
Mm-hmm. Blackjack Randall's younger bro.
Yep, and not only that, the Duke makes sure to say, like, oh, Claire and her husband Jamie know him very well. So, of course, the poor kid's like, oh, I'll make sure my brother knows that you're here. And she's like, I'm sorry, he's alive?
Uh-huh. Dun, 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 dun. That's right, people. We have discovered that he did not die from that stampede back in Wentworth Prison, which we kind of suspected, He's such a big character. If the show never gives full focus on the character's death, then they don't actually die. There was no official thing that he was, he was harmed and everything, but we didn't know what happened to him, so it seems like they cannot run away from these wounds and the past here, so...
And Claire has to be really... First of all, she's taking in a lot of information, and she has to really be careful with how she responds, because, first of all, she shouldn't even know. Like, they're kind of like, why do you think he's dead? And she's like, I must have heard a false rumor. And the brother's like, yeah, he was injured in the line of duty. Also, some lovely fireworks.
Yeah, how cool.
And there's a Duke, with such a look on his face, like, nanny, nanny, poo-poo, and also, like, don't try and mess with me.
Oh, yeah. He knows, like, now the hairs on her back are standing. And she's, like, in a fright. Also, because Jamie. Jamie thinks
mostly
Randall's
because of Jamie. I don't
dead.
think it's for her.
Yeah, and she's like, what am I gonna tell him? What happens if he finds out? Like, he's still trying to get over, like, not seeing visions of Randall. Yeah. And now, if he knows he's alive, like, what is going to happen? And how is he going to take this? It's gonna crush him.
So imagine having this bit of news. The only other person who really understands the situation other than Jamie would be Murtaugh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can't tell your partner about it.
Nope.
Because it could absolutely devastate and, like, crush him under the weight of, like, everything he's been through and it happening again or just having to face it.
Sure, and it's going to throw off his focus because they're trying to achieve something.
They're trying to change history, okay?
Yeah, you don't need that weighing you down.
All right, so we're going to move into the scoring section. As a reminder, our categories are steaminess, plot, feminine power, costumes and set, and cringe factor.
All right. Steaminess. It started with, I know it was a nightmare, but that is also definitely major cringe at the same time. But there are bits of being like, him also the fact that, like, Jamie dreams about, like, having sex with Claire. That's so cute. Nice. I'll probably give steaminess a 3. Also with the there's just, like, a lot of boobs out there. The party,
lot of boobs out.
So
many boobs. Murtaugh was getting very steamy.
The outfits are very revealing.
I also give it a 3. And also, just, like, again, steaminess can also mean, like, then he's nice and he knows nice things to say.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To Claire.
Yeah. Also, just his face when he saw her come down the stairs and it's like he could, like, take his breath away. Yeah, how cute.
Plot.
So, I'm probably gonna do. I'm gonna put a 4.
Cool.
Because, I was gonna do 3 or 4. 1, because now we know for sure that Blackjack Randall's alive. That's a heavy hitter. 2, we are introduced now. We know he's a younger brother. 3, we have the Duke back in the picture. 4, we're trying to... I think it was a little bit more insight into the other characters that are going to be sticking around in France when they're going to these very elite parties, and the other aristocrats in that circle, and still trying to move things towards their favor in regards to the Jacobite Rebellion. Yeah, there's definitely more stuff brewing there.
Yeah. My first instinct was a 2, but I'm going to change it to a 3, because you're right. There's a lot that goes on. Feminine power. I mean, some woman walked in with her nipples straight out. So she's that's a 5.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. Just cause. Also because a tradition is to watch a man on the toilet. Like, the most powerful man in the land.
That's just
on the toilet, which is real. That's just embarrassing.
Yeah. Feminine power. I'll put a 4. Also, the woman who was getting waxed.
Yes,
and then
Louisa.
The other women who were talking about they are very vocal.
Yes,
that's also a thing as well. They're definitely very confident. They don't stay really in the shadows as much as some women in Scotland.
You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Costumes and set 5.
Oh, for sure.
5
for sure.
5 across the board,
and you all know why.
Yes.
Cringe. Major cringe when in the nightmare where it was Blackjack Randall. Major cringe when finding out that he's alive. Cringe when I see the Duke, because I never he's sneaky. He's like, like Swiper from Dora the Explorer. Like, don't trust it. Yeah, maybe I'll do negative 3.
I'm gonna do a -4. For all those reasons. Also, the feet kissing, the Duvernay.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that
situation.
Was yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it turned out funny, obviously, and also just watching the king try and poop. I didn't love that.
Yes. Yeah.
What else did I not love?
Yeah, he should have gotten something from the apothecary.
Yeah, yeah.
He needed some sort of pain reliever.
All right, good. Great. So this was season 2, episode 2. Excited to be exploring season 2 more in depth. So please catch our next episodes coming up. Also, like, subscribe, share, follow, all that great stuff. Thanks.